Stop. Take a moment and think. Why do some people seem to be hanging on the edge of a cliff their whole lives, while others climb steadily upward, even when they stumble? Why does a poor person lose everything, even when given a chance, while a rich person multiplies their wealth, even starting from zero? Many believe it's about luck, connections, or inheritance, but the truth is much harsher. It all begins not in your wallet, but in your head. Poverty and wealth aren't about the numbers in your bank account. They're about mindsets, habits that subtly lead you either up or down. Have you heard the saying, whoever respects the small will be given the great? It's not about morality, it's about how life itself works. Think about it right now. When you've had money in your life, did you hold on to it? Or did it slip through your fingers like water? Write in the comments, what happens to you personally? This is important because an honest answer is the first step toward change. The poverty mindset. A poor person isn't poor because they have little. They're poor because they think as if things will always be taken away. Their focus is on the fear of loss. They live not to create, but to defend and make excuses. A wealthy person thinks differently. They see opportunities, order, and growth. They know how to wait. They take hits, but they see them as lessons. That's why for a wealthy person, every mistake becomes a step, while for a poor person, it's a stone around their neck. A story from the community. In our tradition, there was a man who, after the war, had nothing left but his 2 hands and a small notebook. Every night, he would sit down at his table and write how much he earned and how much he spent. His friends would laugh. "Why are you counting pennies?" And he would reply, "If I don't count my money, it will start to count me." Years passed. Those notes became a workshop, and then they earned him the respect of the entire city. This man became wealthy, not because someone gave him capital, but because he learned to respect the small. A question for you. Do you count your money? Or does your money count you? Habits that steal your life. Misfortune and poverty are most often a habit. The habit of living in debt. The habit of spending in advance. The habit of complaining. The habit of being afraid of change. These habits are like stones in a backpack. The longer you carry them, the harder it is to climb. I saw a neighbor who, in the 1990s, bought a television on credit. He paid for it for 3 years and said, "That TV cost me more than my salary for a whole year." He thought he bought an item, but in reality, he bought himself chains. In Jewish wisdom, it was always taught, only spend from what you already have. Money is a tool, but if you play with it, it becomes a trap. Write in the comments, have you ever had an experience where credit became a burden? Saving on your mind. A poor person thoughtlessly spends money on food with debt, on unnecessary things, on entertainment. But when it comes to education, a book, or advice, they say, that's expensive. And in the end, they pay not for knowledge, but for their mistakes. I knew a young man who gave up partying and bought a course on a trade. His friends spent their money on entertainment and laughed at him. A few years later, it was he who was supporting his family, and they were coming to him for work. My father always said, the best investment is in your mind. The mind doesn't burn, rust, or disappear. The victim role. A poor person likes to look for someone to blame. The government, their boss, the crisis. But as long as they believe that someone else controls their life, they give away their power. In Tibetan monasteries, they said, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? These words are the key. As soon as a person stops being a victim, they stop being a puppet in someone else's hands. I saw people who built a business from scratch simply because instead of complaining, they asked one question. What can I do right now? The fear of starting over. One of the strongest chains of poverty is the fear of starting over. A person holds onto a job that is killing them simply because they are afraid to reset. They are afraid of zero, even though zero is a chance. Remember, does a blank page scare you or inspire you? For a poor person, it's a death sentence. For a wealthy person, it's a door. I knew a man who lost everything 3 times. Each time he would sit down with a blank sheet of paper and write a new plan. Today, he is a respected business owner. He said, every one of my zeros was a door. not a wall. Conclusion: living in debt, saving on your mind, being a victim, and fearing a new beginning. These are the stones that pull a poor person down. These habits prevent them from holding on to money. They destroy even what they already have. But that's only half the picture, because rich people also lose, but they know how to turn losses into strength. They multiply faster than a poor person can complain. Want to know why the wealthy grow even from zero? Then keep watching. In the next part, I'll reveal the secrets of their mindset and share stories that will change your view of wealth forever. Wealthy people multiply faster, not because they have more starting capital. Many of them started from zero or even from debt. The difference is in something else, in how they look at life, how they manage their attention, and where they direct their energy. The first thing that distinguishes a wealthy person is that they invest in knowledge. You can lose money, things can break, a business can fail, but knowledge doesn't disappear. It stays with you forever. I knew a young man who earned a modest salary. His friends bought clothes, phones, and spent money on parties. But he saved a portion for books and mentors. At the time, it seemed ridiculous. But a few years later, he became a master of his craft, and his income grew tenfold. Modern researchers confirm the same thing. Even a single conversation with a wise person can save you years of mistakes. But for a poor person, it seems like a waste. They'd rather spend money on a drink or a loan than on advice. And because of this, they pay a higher price, with time, a broken fate, and disappointment. The second strength of a wealthy person is the ability to wait. The world is full of temptations. Advertisements shout, "Buy now, pay later." Society pushes you to get pleasure here and now. A poor person falls for it. They buy on credit, live on credit, and celebrate on credit. But the future always collects its due. A wealthy person chooses differently. They know that instant gratification steals tomorrow. They give up the immediate to get many times more later. An entrepreneur once told me, "I could have bought myself a car, but I invested that money in my business." 3 years later, I had 10 cars for the company. If I had bought one right away, I would have had just one. I waited and got 10 times more. In Eastern traditions, patience was always considered a form of wealth. In monasteries, they taught, "He who knows how to wait owns time." And this is a truth that works in all matters. The third strength of a wealthy person is that they see themselves as the master of their own life. They don't shift responsibility to circumstances. Even in a crisis, they ask, "What is within my control?" While a poor person looks for someone to blame, a wealthy person looks for a way to turn the sail. My grandfather used to say, "You don't choose the wind, but you can always choose how to set your sail." This is a simple but great truth. The one who takes responsibility becomes stronger than their circumstances. The fourth strength is that wealthy people are not afraid to start from zero. For them, zero isn't the end, but a new opportunity. A friend of mine lost his business and was left with debt. He could have given up, complained, and blamed others. But he said, "This is a sign. It's time to learn something new." And he started over. Today, he has a new business, and it's twice as successful as the old one. In our traditions, there's Shabbat, a day when everything stops. A day that reminds you that sometimes, to move forward, you have to start over. A wealthy person understands this. They don't cling to the old. They know how to let go and rebuild. And another difference between wealthy people is focus. They understand that attention is the most valuable resource. The one who scatters their attention on trifles loses everything. The one who concentrates on what's important gets results. Modern thinkers call this deep work. I knew a man who gave up pointless meetings and shallow entertainment and focused on a single project. His income grew in ways he never expected, and it wasn't a miracle, it was a consequence. Where attention is focused, strength grows. That's why wealthy people multiply faster. Their strength isn't in random luck. Their strength is in a mindset that turns every mistake into a lesson and every difficulty into a resource. Think about it. A poor person buys a phone onto credit. A wealthy person buys a book. A poor person waits for circumstances to change. A wealthy person seeks a way to change the circumstances themselves. A poor person clings to the past. A wealthy person lets go and starts anew. A poor person spends their attention on noise. A wealthy person protects it as their most valuable asset. In old teachings, they said, whoever respects the small will be given the great. This is a law that always works. Respect a penny and a dollar will come. Respect an hour and you'll get years. Respect your attention and the fruits of your labor will come. But if you don't value the small, the great will pass you by. Modern researchers call it by different names. Kahneman talks about the traps of fast decisions. When we choose what's easy today, we lose tomorrow. Dweck reminds us that growth comes through effort, not talent. Taleb argues that adversity makes us stronger if we're willing to learn. It's all new phrasing, but the essence is the same thing our grandparents knew. I saw a simple person who saved a small amount every day. His friends laughed, "You're counting pennies." But years later, he bought a house. And those same friends were surprised. "How did you do it?" And he just smiled and said, "I respected the small and it turned into something big." And there were others, young people who spent everything on parties and credit. They felt rich in their 20s, but by 30 they had nothing. Their poverty didn't start in their wallet, it started in their head. The meaning is simple. Wealth and poverty are not a matter of chance. They are two different mindsets. One leads down, the other leads up. And every day you choose which story to write. Now ask yourself, what story are you writing right now? Are you acting like a poor person or a wealthy one? In the second part, we'll break down how to turn these truths into practice. What you can do today to stop thinking like a poor person and start thinking like a wealthy one. And there will be steps that anyone can follow. Now, let's turn all of this into practice. Because it's one thing to listen to stories and another to change yourself. I'll be direct. A wealthy mindset starts with simple steps. But it's these steps that often seem the hardest. The first thing you need to do is stop living in debt. Remember, credit is renting your freedom. Every time you spend in advance, you're signing a contract with poverty. Yes, it's more convenient, more tempting, but it's an illusion. A phone bought on credit is not a purchase, it's chains. A poor person seeks pleasure up front and pays later with debt. A wealthy person does the opposite. They work first, then get the reward. Try an experiment today. Buy only what you already have the money for. Nothing on credit. You'll feel resistance, frustration, even a sense of emptiness. But in that moment, you are taking a step toward freedom. Second, invest in knowledge, even if it's just a small amount. Let it be a book, a lesson, or a conversation with a wise person. You don't need to sign up for expensive courses or dozens of seminars right away. Start with something small, because every piece of knowledge is a seed. It won't bear fruit instantly, but over time, it will grow into a tree. I saw a young man from a poor family who bought an old book on a trade. His friends laughed, saying he was wasting his money. But a few years passed, and that very knowledge gave him a profession, and the profession brought him respect and stability. His friends were still complaining about their salaries and debt. Third, stop being a victim. Every time you want to complain, ask yourself, what can I do right now? Try it today. When you feel the urge to blame someone else for your troubles, stop and ask yourself, what can I do to change the situation by at least 1%? This habit, over time, changes your whole life. Fourth, embrace zero as a chance. Lost your job, money, or a relationship? Don't cling to what is dying. Take a piece of paper and write down, what can I start from scratch today? It's amazing, but the moment you hit zero is when power emerges. Zero is a door, not a wall. I remember a man who started from a clean slate 3 times. Each time, he lost everything. But instead of complaining, he sat down and wrote a plan. Today, he is known as a respected business owner. His secret was simple. He saw zero as a beginning, not an end. Fifth, protect your focus. The world screams, the world demands. News, social media, pointless conversations. All of it steals your life. Your attention is energy. If it's spent on noise, there's none left for what matters. Eliminate at least one source of noise. Turn off notifications. Give up one unproductive habit. Try living for a week without a news feed. You'll see how much energy you get back. Attention is the most valuable asset. The wealthy know this. The poor scatter it left and right as if it's infinite, but the truth is that attention is what creates results. Be honest. Do you control your attention or does it control you? Write in the comments. This is a question you should ask yourself at least once in your life. These 5 steps are the foundation. Stop living in debt. Invest in knowledge, even if it's a small amount. Stop being a victim. Embrace zero as a chance. Protect your focus. These aren't just pretty words. This is a practice that changes destinies. I've seen dozens of people who followed these steps, and every one of them rose higher, and I saw others, those who waved it off. They stayed right where they were, complaining about life. And there's another truth here. A wealthy mindset isn't about money. It's about discipline and respect for life. Money is just a consequence. You can be poor and live by these principles, and then money will come. You can be rich and violate them, and then money will leave. Because these laws work the same for everyone. Look inside yourself. What habits do you have? Do you live ahead of yourself, in debt? Are you afraid to start over? Do you put off learning for later? Do you give your attention to emptiness? Answer honestly, it's a mirror. Now, let's raise the bar. Because it's not enough to just reject a poor mindset. You need to learn to think like a wealthy person. And that means seeing further than today. In the second half of this conversation, we'll break down the qualities that make a wealthy person someone who can multiply even the smallest amount. We'll explore how to think so that every mistake becomes a resource and every difficulty becomes a step up. Think about it. Are you ready to take responsibility for your mindset, or will you continue to repeat old habits? The decision is only in your hands. Wealthy people are not distinguished by the amount of money they have, but by their internal order. They possess qualities that become a support in any situation. These qualities are like the roots of a tree. The deeper they go into the ground, the higher the crown grows. I knew a man who lost everything. His partner betrayed him, his business collapsed, and the money was gone. It seemed like the end. But he said one thing: as long as I have my hands and my mind, I'll build it all again. And he did. Because a wealthy person sees not only what they've lost, but also what they have left. The first quality is discipline. A poor person relies on their mood. If they feel like it today, they work. If not, they quit. A wealthy person acts not based on mood, but on principle. They take a step every day, even when they're tired, even when they don't want to. Discipline is the force that turns chaos into order. I saw a guy who decided to save 50 cents a day. His friends laughed. That's ridiculous. What difference will a few pennies make? But he kept going. Years later, he had enough savings to open a small business. And his friends were still laughing, just not as loudly. The second quality is the ability to see beyond today. A poor person is stuck in the moment. They want pleasure now. A wealthy person looks ahead. They see the consequences. They understand that what they do today will turn into a result years from now. A wise man once said, "A person with foresight sees the tree in the seed." This is exactly how wealthy people look at things. For them, a seed is already a garden. That's why they are not afraid to wait. They invest their energy in things that will bear fruit later. The third quality is the ability to learn from everyone. In our tradition, they said, "Who is wise? The one who learns from everyone." These are not just nice words, it's a law. A poor person thinks they know everything. A wealthy person looks for a lesson even in the smallest situation. I remember a story from a monastery. A young monk swept the courtyard every day. He complained, "Why am I spending years on a broom? This isn't learning." The master said, "He who can see a path in a speck of dust will see the truth in the mountains too." Years later, that monk became a teacher because he learned to learn even where others saw emptiness. The fourth quality is the strength to let go. A poor person clings to the past, even if it's destroying them. They are afraid of losing what's familiar, even if what's familiar is killing them. A wealthy person knows how to let go. They understand that for something new to arrive, you must leave the old behind. I saw a woman who for years endured a job where she was humiliated. She was afraid to leave because she thought, "At least I have something." But one day, she took the plunge. She left for nothing. 6 months later, she had a new business and said, "Why did I hold on to the old for so long?" Wealthy people understand this immediately. They don't cling to what is dying. The fifth quality is respect for the small things. Many people think, when I have a lot of money, then I'll start counting, saving and planning. But this is an illusion. If you don't respect a penny, you won't hold on to $1 million. If you don't respect an hour, you won't hold on to years. I saw a young man who earned a small salary. He meticulously recorded every expense. His colleagues spent everything and laughed. "You're counting pennies." But a few years later, it was he who was able to save up for his own house. Respect for the small opened the way for him to the big. The sixth quality is concentration. Wealthy people don't scatter their energy. They choose what is most important and keep their attention on it. A poor person tries to do everything at once and gives up. A wealthy person chooses one thing and sees it through to the end. I saw a man who gave up pointless meetings and meaningless entertainment and focused on a single project. His income grew in a way he never expected, because attention is a light that either scatters in the darkness or burns a path forward. The seventh quality is gratitude. It sounds simple, but it's the foundation. A poor person is always dissatisfied. They complain about what they don't have. A wealthy person is grateful for what they do have, and this is what attracts new things. In monasteries, they said, "He who is grateful for a cup of water will be given a river." Gratitude opens doors, complaining closes them. Now, ask yourself, which of these qualities do you have? Discipline, foresight, the ability to learn, the strength to let go, respect for the small, concentration, gratitude, or on the contrary, do you recognize yourself in the habits of poverty? Write honestly in the comments, because being honest with yourself is the point from which the upward journey begins. In the following parts, we will go even deeper. We'll break down how each of these qualities can be trained in life. Because wisdom without practice is dead. And it's practice that turns knowledge into power. It's easy to listen to stories and nod along. But if you truly want to change your life, you need to act. The poverty mindset doesn't go away from pretty words, but from practice. Every quality we've talked about can be trained, and then it becomes a part of who you are. Let's start with discipline. Many people think discipline is about rigidity, suffering, and deprivation. In reality, discipline is freedom. Chaos destroys, order creates. Try a small step. Choose one action that you will do every day without excuses. It could be 10 minutes of reading, recording your expenses, or a morning workout. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is doing it every day. In a month, you'll notice how a small habit turns chaos into order. Next, foresight. We're used to thinking only about today, but a wealthy mindset looks further. Try this practice. Every morning before you start your day, ask yourself, what am I doing today that will bear fruit in 5 years? It's not easy, but if you start thinking in terms of years instead of minutes, your decisions will change. Learning from everyone is also a skill. The people around us are full of lessons, but a poor person doesn't see them because they think they're smarter than everyone else. Try this exercise. Today, ask at least 3 people a question. It doesn't matter who they are, a colleague, a neighbor, even a child. Ask them, what can I learn from you? Listen to their answer. Sometimes, the simplest word provides the deepest lesson. The strength to let go is one of the hardest practices. We cling to the past, to our grievances, to old things, even to pain. But as long as you're holding on, your hands aren't free to accept something new. Try this practice. Choose one thing that you've held onto for a long time but no longer need, and let it go. Throw it away, give it away, sell it. It will be hard, but a sense of relief will follow. When you learn to let go of the small, life will give you the opportunity to let go of the big. Respect for the small is trained in the details. Start with money. Record every single expense, even the smallest one. It's not boring, it's an act of respect. You'll see where your energy is draining away. And when you start to respect the small, the big will come. The same goes for time. Record where at least one day goes. How many hours were spent on nothing? When you start to respect an hour, life will give you years. Concentration is the ability to hold your attention. Our world steals it every minute. Try this exercise. Choose one task and do only that for an hour. No phone, no distractions. Notice how difficult it is to stay focused. But this is where power is born. 1 hour of deep work can replace a day of pointless fuss. Gratitude is a practice that changes lives. Every evening, write down 3 things you're grateful for. Let them be the simplest things: a a cup of warm tea, a loved one's smile, a roof over your head. Do this for a month and you will see how the world changes. Not because there's more around you, but because you yourself have begun to see more. These exercises are simple, but it's the simple things that change destinies. We make up complex excuses to put things off. Simple things work right here, right now. I knew a woman who decided to record her expenses every day. Her husband laughed, why bother? We don't have much anyway. But a year later, they were able to save enough for home renovations. And that one habit became the foundation of their prosperity. I knew a guy who got rid of an old thing he was attached to. He said, I felt that along with it, a burden I had carried for years left me. Over time, he was able to let go of a few unproductive relationships too. And only then did love come into his life. I saw a man who lived as a victim for years. He always complained, always looked for someone to blame. But one day, he started asking himself, what can I do right now? At first it was hard, but gradually his life began to change. Today, he runs his own company and says, the most important thing is to stop giving your power to others. And it's true, all change begins from within. You can listen to wisdom, you can read books, you can even nod in agreement. But if you don't start acting, nothing will change. Ask yourself right now, which of these exercises are you ready to do today? Record your expenses, start a small habit, be grateful for something, let go of what you don't need, choose one. Don't put it off. Write in the comments what you will do today. Because action is the bridge from a poor mindset to a wealthy one. Starting a journey is easy. The first step always gives you a sense of power, as if your life has already changed. But the poor mindset doesn't give up without a fight. It comes back in the form of traps. These traps are insidious, they look familiar, they're convenient, and that's exactly why they destroy everything. The first trap is procrastination. I'll start tomorrow, on Monday, on New Year's. You've probably heard this in your own head. Tomorrow feels safe. There's time. There will be more strength. But tomorrow never comes. Every day turns into a Monday that never starts. I knew a guy who for years said, I'll open my own business, but later. I need to prepare. He prepared for 10 years. During that time, others who were less prepared started, made mistakes, and grew. And he stayed exactly where he was. Procrastination is a silent thief. It doesn't steal money, it steals life. The second trap is the desire for quick results. A poor person always wants results instantly. They start a new habit and wait for immediate rewards. But the world doesn't work that way. A plant doesn't bear fruit the day after it's planted. It takes time. It takes patience. I saw a woman who decided to save money. For 2 months, she recorded her expenses and saved a little bit. But then she said, I don't see any difference. It's not working. And she gave up. Years later, she was complaining about being poor. But if she had continued, she would have had a fortune. The third trap is comparison. A poor person constantly looks at others. He succeeded faster. She has more. They are more successful. But someone else's path is their path. Comparison kills your strength. It turns your forward motion into pain. I remember a young man who was learning a trade. His friend got a simple job at the same time and immediately started earning more. The young man was tormented and jealous, but he kept going. A few years later, he became a master and earned 10 times more. If he had given up back then, comparison would have robbed him of his future. The fourth trap is getting tired of the small things. Big victories are born from small steps. But a poor person thinks, what difference will this one step make? It's too small. They give up right when the result is close. A farmer once said, people stop digging a well when they're only 3 feet from the water. This is exactly what happens to poor people. They can't endure the small steps and never reach the source. The fifth trap is your environment. The people around us are a mirror. If you're surrounded by people who complain, spend on credit, and look for someone to blame, you will become like them. A poor mindset is contagious. It spreads faster than any disease. I saw a guy who started saving money. His friends laughed, live for now, what are a few pennies for? At first he resisted, then he listened to them. In the end, he spent all of it. His friends were left with nothing, and so was he. But all he had to do was stay the course. The sixth trap is the fear of what others think. A poor person is afraid of looking ridiculous. They're afraid of being judged, of being misunderstood. A wealthy person moves forward even when others are laughing at them. I knew a man who started saving every little bit. His neighbors called him greedy, but he didn't pay attention. Years later, it was he who helped those same neighbors when they were out of money. He said, "They laughed, but I knew why I was doing it." The seventh trap is forgetting why. You start with fire, with motivation, but over time it fades. You forget what you started for. This is the moment when you need to stop and remember, why am I doing this? For freedom? For my family? To stop being a victim? In monasteries, they taught, he who has lost his goal has lost his way. A goal is a fire. Without it, darkness devours everything. Think, which of these traps is most dangerous for you? Procrastination? The desire for quick results? Comparison? Your environment? The fear of what others think? Write in the comments, because recognizing a trap is already half the battle. These traps come for everyone. What's important isn't that they will appear. What's important is how you get through them. There are simple ways to protect yourself. Against procrastination, a small step right now helps. Do something, anything today. Against the desire for quick results, remember the seed. The fruit always comes later. Against comparison, remind yourself, someone else's path is their path. Against getting tired of the small things, have faith that steps are what build the road. Against your environment, choose people who support you. Against the fear of opinions, remember, laughter fades, but the results remain. Every day you walk a path, and every day these traps are waiting. But you have a choice. You can step into them and stay in the same place. Or you can walk around them and keep moving forward. In the next part, we'll talk about what happens when a person gets through these traps and stays on course. That's when your mindset begins to work like a force that multiplies everything around it. And that is what turns a poor person into a wealthy one, even if they started from nothing. When a person gets through the traps and stays on their path, the most important thing begins to happen to them. Their mindset changes, and with that, their whole life changes. It's not immediately noticeable, but gradually, each step adds up to a path, and each choice turns into a result. I saw a simple man who lived in poverty for many years. He didn't have wealthy parents, he didn't have connections, but he made a choice to stop living in debt, to stop complaining, and to start learning from everyone. He saved small amounts, he respected the small things, he maintained discipline. At first, his life looked the same as everyone else's. But 10 years passed, and he became a person who was respected and trusted. It all started in his head, with his habits, with small steps. A wealthy mindset is like a river. It doesn't rage all at once. It builds up strength that gathers its streams and one day turns into a current that is impossible to stop. A poor mindset is like a pit. You can fall into it quickly and it's hard to get out. Remember one simple thing. Poverty and wealth are not a matter of chance. It's not a game of fate. It's about mindsets. One leads down, the other leads up. And every day you write your own story. Look at your day. Did you complain today? Did you spend on credit? Did you compare yourself to others? Did you let noise steal your focus? Or did you take a step, even a small one, toward discipline, knowledge, and gratitude? Answer yourself honestly. It all starts with the small things. Respect a penny and a dollar will come. Respect an hour and you'll get years. Respect your attention and the fruits of your labor will come. This is a law that always works. Modern thinkers are just repeating what our grandparents knew. Kahneman talks about the traps of quick decisions. Dweck reminds us that growth comes through effort. Taleb says that adversity makes us stronger. And the wise men of the East said, "Whoever respects the small will be given the great." You can laugh at these words. You can nod and put it off for later. Or you can take a step right now. What step will you choose? Will you stop living in debt? Will you record your expenses? Will you be grateful for what you have? Will you let go of something you don't need? Write in the comments. What action will you take today? Because action is the bridge from a poor mindset to a wealthy one. I saw a young man who saved a small amount of money every day. His friends laughed at him, but years later, he bought a house. I saw men who clung to the old ways and lost everything. I saw those who complained and those who took responsibility. The difference was always the same: how they thought and what they did. You can be the one who remains a victim, or the one who starts on the path to power. You can stay in the habits of poverty, or choose the habits of wealth. The decision is in your hands. There will always be zero in life: losses, crises, falls. But zero is not the end. It is a clean slate. It is a door behind which a new path begins. Those who fear zero remain in darkness. Those who accept it come out into the light. Now you know that poverty is a way of thinking. Wealth is also a way of thinking, and you can choose. If these words resonate with you, subscribe to the channel. Here, we learn together how to think in a way that allows us to stop losing and start multiplying. Leave a comment. Which idea from this video was the most important for you? And what step are you ready to take today? Because only action will show whether you are ready to move from a poverty mindset to a wealth mindset. You are not weak. You have simply forgotten the power of discipline, knowledge, and gratitude. Reclaim it, and then everything will start to change. Translated with deepl.com, free version.